Was the crossing of the Delaware painting right, wrong, or really vague? We're here at the intersection with George, who's pointing at the high point here at where the First Battle of Trenton was. Let's look at the Revolutionary War's big picture. Mike, we go to where history happened and where landmarks are, and we are in Trenton. First battle happened, and we're talking about the actual crossing of the Delaware itself. I am a former teacher from Philadelphia School District, and if that painting, Emanuel Luetze's painting, is correct, so let's see. So what's right about it? And let's take a look. I'll put it up. So what's right about it is it was very icy that day, and perhaps I'm going to do this. You can see behind me. In New Jersey, it does snow. The Delaware River really does freeze over, like in the painting, as you see there. It freezes over, and it gets very difficult to cross. And he was crossing Christmas night, but not really Christmas night. It was the next morning. It was 12 a.m. really by the time they started crossing. They were 3 hours behind. So they got across by about 3 a.m. into New Jersey from Pennsylvania, up about 9 miles north. And they didn't even start walking here until 4 a.m. So much for the cover of darkness, right? So what else is right with the painting? Well, again, it's freezing cold. It's freezing cold today. I don't know if you can see that. I don't see it in there. But it is freezing. It's 30 degrees. It was snowing that night. Yeah, it was probably freezing rain at first. It changed over to sleet. And then, let me try to get this in frame here. And then it turned into snow. This was a snowstorm. And those men, you can look at my hands here. Yeah, if you're not wearing gloves, your hands can freeze. And the people who died on their way here died of exposure. No one died in the battle. And it was up here. Alexander Hamilton was with George Washington and the others, those 2,400 men in those Dunlop boats that you see that came, and there were many of them. They could hold 40, 60 people. They had their ammunition. They had their cannons on those boats, and they came over. And another thing that's right about that painting is he was the only one who crossed that night. It was supposed to be a three-pronged attack. Yeah, from two in the south, Cadwalader, I believe, and also Ewing in Burlington, and they couldn't cross because it was too icy. But he crossed anyway. And it was really amazing, and it was brave. Yeah, they show him standing up there. Now, was he really standing up in the Dunlop boat? No. And we'll get into that, okay, of what's wrong. But that's artistic license, right? He was brave. Those men came down here to win, and he needed a win. We had lost battle after battle in the Revolutionary War. I mean, we were not looking good. Britain should have won this war. They should have won. They won in New York. They won at Fort Lee. They won in Fort Washington. George Washington had to go over the Delaware River just to hide to get reinforcements. But he came over and he had spies. And John Rawl, who would be here, we'll talk about him, wasn't ready for him. This would be a sneak attack. So what else is right or wrong, let's say? Well, the Delaware River up here, 9 miles north of Trenton, and even in Trenton, is not that wide. Yeah, he makes it look wider than it is, Emanuel Luetze in the painting. Yeah, again, artistic license, but it's not that wide here. It's not like where the Ben Franklin Bridge is to Philadelphia, 40 miles down. So, there's that. But, and also, it doesn't look very, very dark in the painting. I know right here you're seeing the clouds. They show clouds like this. This is in the middle of the day. This was not in the middle of the day when the crossing of the Delaware happened. That was in the middle of the night. You wouldn't have seen anything. There were no lighthouses on. Okay, it doesn't make sense. This was a sneak attack, okay? They marched those 4 hours, those 9 miles down. And they set up here. This is where they set up. And where he's pointing is where they had the high ground. And they had the advantage. And they won in 2 hours. That's how quick this battle was. And he had that bridge that you should see in the other video on the second Battle of Trenton. When I say we put him on notice, that bridge, only a few got across. They really couldn't retreat. You know, John Rawl actually kind of partied on Christmas Day, that 1776. He kind of partied. He went to a house, and that was kind of done on purpose by George. I think that was set up, okay? But, yeah, he wasn't ready. He said, oh, yeah, we'll get the bayonets. Yeah, they didn't even have redoubts. They had nothing. They had no defenses here. He thought, oh, yeah, we'll just get them with our 1,500 men. Yeah, but he had 2,400 with him. And they were coming down, and they were armed. So that happened. So what's vague? And this is really the big picture. Because it doesn't even matter that some things are wrong. The answer is no. What's vague is, where did it happen? The crossing of the Delaware, Washington's crossing, doesn't even say it wasn't Trenton. It could have been anywhere. Yes, it was obviously a victory. There's a ambulance going by. It was obviously a great victory, and we needed it because we needed men to re-enlist. We were, these men didn't have to re-enlist again. We weren't doing well in this war at all. And he needed to win. He needed to show his men, and he crossed with them. And it was important. So it shows the bravery. That's really the point, isn't it? It shows the bravery of Washington and his men crossing and coming down here to get the win and to save, really, Philadelphia, right? And also, who are we fighting? That's kind of left up too. You think it's the British. No, it wasn't. It was the Hessians. They were mercenaries. John Rawl did not get any reinforcements from the British. He asked for them. They wouldn't give it to him. Cornwallis, Howe, they wouldn't give him any. They were up in New Brunswick. Or Princeton, which we blocked off. But they had no idea. They had no idea. It wasn't going to happen. So there's that. And also, what else is vague? Well, this wasn't the victory of the war either, was it? It wasn't in Yorktown, where we won the war against Cornwallis and it was over. No, but it showed we were going to face them off and we could win in a battle, in a surprise attack, and get the men to re-enlist and fight this war until we beat the British and gained our independence. My motto, that's local history for me. What's your local history? Please like, please subscribe, and leave your comments below. We're going to Princeton. If you want to do that for that battle, say so in the comments. So this is the icy Delaware River. I'm going to move it. In Trenton, around 9 miles south of where they crossed, and you can see it is almost frozen solid. So this is what they had to deal with, not unlike that night, December 26th, 1776, 6 months after the Declaration of Independence was signed.